Let's go Rams! You surely followed this Saturday's game against the Chiefs, and man, we need to talk about a few important things. Everyone was amazed by Ty Simpson's performance, yet few realized what actually made that game so fantastic. I know these first 3 games don't count toward the regular season standings, but I have to admit one thing. The Rams' confidence is sky high. I can't wait for Week 1 to start. Today, I want to talk about a few things I observed. And man, I really need to share this with you. Before we start, make sure you've hit that like button. But only do it if you're a true Los Angeles Rams fan. If possible, write something like, "Go Rams, let's get 'em." Now, let's get down to business. The Los Angeles Rams came away with a win over the Kansas City Chiefs in the preseason, but forget the final score for a moment. We're talking about the preseason. Wins are good, losses are frustrating, but neither tells the whole story. What really matters is what these young players showed when they finally got a chance in a real game situation. And after watching this match, there's one name we have to start with: Tai Simpson. What Simpson did was exactly what Rams fans wanted to see from a first-round quarterback facing his first big preseason test. Not everything was perfect from the very first snap. The opening drive had some issues, including a bad snap that disrupted the rhythm of the possession. But what happened next was far more important. Simpson settled down, took command of the offense, and started playing with confidence. He looked at ease in the huddle. He looked comfortable running the show. Most importantly, he didn't seem intimidated by the moment. This is significant because one of the questions surrounding Simpson was how easily he would transition from the playing style he used in college to the Rams offense. He spent much of his college career playing out of the shotgun formation, whereas Los Angeles requires its quarterbacks to operate from under center, receiving the snap directly from the center. In this game, Simpson spent the majority of the time under center and, from what we saw, handled the adjustment extremely well. The numbers tell the story. Simpson completed 21 of 25 passes for 190 yards. That's an 84% completion rate. He averaged 7.6 yards per attempt and threw 2 touchdown passes. For a rookie quarterback making his preseason debut, that is one impressive line. But there was something more important than the numbers. Simpson looked like he belonged. That's what stood out. You can complete short passes and put together a nice stat line in a preseason game, but Rams fans wanted to see whether Simpson could command an NFL offense. Could he get everybody organized? Could he work from under center? Could he respond after something went wrong? Could he stay composed instead of allowing one bad play or one bad possession to change the way he approached the game? In this first test, the answer looked very encouraging. After that difficult beginning, Simpson didn't panic. He simply settled into the game and started making plays. That's exactly the kind of response you want from a young quarterback. There was pressure surrounding this appearance because of where he was drafted and because everybody wanted to get their first real look at him. Instead of looking like the moment was too big, Simpson played like someone who understood what he needed to do, and he quickly found a favorite target. Max Klare became one of the biggest stories of the game alongside Simpson. The rookie tight end out of Ohio State caught 7 passes for 37 yards. 7 of Simpson's 21 completions went to Klare, so roughly 1/3 of Simpson's completed passes ended up in the hands of number 86. That tells you something about the trust developing between these two young players. When Simpson needed an option, Klare was regularly there. When the quarterback had to get the football out and find somebody reliable, he kept looking toward his rookie tight end. Klare didn't need one giant play to make his presence felt. He did it by being available and consistently giving Simpson somewhere to go with the football. For a rookie tight end, that's an encouraging start. And for a rookie quarterback, having another young player he already appears comfortable throwing to can be extremely valuable. We don't need to get carried away after one preseason game. That's important. This was still preseason football, and the real tests will become much more difficult. But we also shouldn't ignore a strong performance just because it happened in August. The goal of these games is to see young players take the things they've been learning and execute them when another team is lined up across from them. Simpson and Klare did that. Unfortunately, not everything on offense was positive. Keegan Trost left the game during the first quarter with a hamstring injury and did not return. He was ruled out quickly, and there was no further information in the immediate aftermath about exactly what the situation meant for him moving forward. That's disappointing because this game represented an important opportunity for Trost to get valuable preseason snaps. Alex Cook also left the game on the defensive side, although there wasn't a clear update on exactly what injury he was dealing with. Those are situations to watch, because preseason is incredibly important for players fighting for roles and trying to prove themselves. Every snap matters, and losing playing time because of an injury is something nobody wants to see. But even after Trost went out, the Rams' offensive line deserves a lot of credit for what happened. Los Angeles did not play its starters, and yet the depth of this offensive line held up. That helped Simpson get comfortable, and it also gave the running backs opportunities to make an impact. Considering Kansas City played starters for much of the first quarter, seeing the Rams' depth players compete the way they did was one of the most encouraging parts of the entire game. And that brings us to another player who may have done as much for himself as anybody on this roster, Dean Connors. The undrafted free agent running back out of Houston made the most of his opportunities. Connors didn't need 20 carries or a huge workload to get everybody's attention. He had 10 total touches, including 6 carries for 22 yards, averaging almost 4 yards per carry. But his biggest impact came as a receiver. He scored 2 touchdowns. The first one was the kind of play that can make coaches remember you. The Rams had a double screen situation. Simpson had an option to his left, and Connors working on the other side on a slip screen. Simpson looked toward the first option, saw that it wasn't there, turned back, and found Connors. That's when Connors did the rest. A Kansas City defender met him almost immediately, and Connors simply went through him. There was no hesitation. He refused to be stopped, powered through the contact, and got himself into the end zone. That was a young player taking advantage of his moment. And then he scored again. For an undrafted free agent trying to separate himself in a crowded running back room, you can't ask for much more. Connors was given opportunities and turned them into production. That's what preseason is about for a player in his position. The entire running back group gave Rams fans something to like. Marquez Hunter got his opportunities. Jordan Waters also looked good. Ronnie Rivers did not play in this game, which meant more chances for the other backs to show what they could do. But Connors was the name that really jumped out because of those 2 touchdowns and the way he fought through contact. The Rams' running game as a whole showed up, and that again takes us back to the offensive line. When no starters are playing, and your young quarterback can settle into a rhythm while your running backs are finding room to work, that's a very good sign for the depth of the offense. Then we move to the defense, where several players made strong cases for themselves. Nick Anderson was impossible to ignore. Number 45 was everywhere. The Wake Forest product finished with 9 tackles, including 4 solo tackles, 2 pass breakups, and a tackle for loss. Those are the kinds of numbers that immediately get your attention, but just like Simpson, the stat line wasn't the only thing that mattered. Anderson played with energy from one snap to the next. He kept showing up around the football. He was involved in tackles. He made plays in coverage. He got into the backfield. It felt like whenever there was an opportunity to make something happen, number 45 was somewhere close to the action. For an undrafted player, performances like this can completely change the conversation. Anderson isn't just trying to show that he can contribute on defense. A player fighting for a spot on the 53-man roster also needs to show value wherever the team needs him, especially on special teams. If he can bring the same energy there and continue playing this way through the remaining preseason opportunities, he's going to give the Rams something serious to think about. One strong game doesn't guarantee anybody a roster spot. Anderson still has more work ahead of him, including the next preseason games and the joint practice against the Saints. But this is exactly how you start making your case. Then there was Wesley Bailey. His performance wasn't necessarily one that jumps off the stat sheet because he didn't finish with a sack, but if you were watching him closely, you could see the pressure he was creating. Bailey consistently worked toward the quarterback and found ways to disrupt plays. He also had positive moments against the run. That's significant because it matched the encouraging things that had already been heard about him during training camp. When a young player starts showing the same qualities in a game that he has been showing in practice, that's progress you want to see. Not every defensive performance has to end with 2 sacks and a forced fumble to be valuable. Sometimes it's about consistently affecting the play, forcing the quarterback to react, and proving you can hold up against the run. Bailey did enough of that to leave a positive impression. Alzillian Hamilton also deserves attention. The undrafted cornerback out of Fresno State had a pass breakup. He also allowed some completions, so, again, this wasn't some flawless performance. But that's not what you expect from an undrafted rookie cornerback in preseason. What you want to see is how he responds. Hamilton battled. He kept competing even when Kansas City completed passes in his direction. He stayed involved and came back to make plays. That ability to continue fighting is important for a young defensive back, because cornerback can be an unforgiving position. You're going to lose some snaps. The question is whether you can come right back and compete on the next one. Hamilton did that. So when you look at this defense as a whole, there was plenty to like. Anderson was flying around the field. Bailey created pressure. Hamilton competed in coverage. The Rams' young defensive players were given a chance to prove themselves, and several of them took advantage. That's really the theme of this entire game. Opportunity. The Rams weren't relying on their starters to get this done. This was a chance to look deeper into the roster and find out which players could handle being thrown into a competitive situation. And from the offensive line to the running backs, from the rookie tight end to the young defensive players, Los Angeles got a lot of encouraging answers. But everything still comes back to Ty Simpson. That's going to be the performance Rams fans remember most from this game. 21 completions on 25 attempts, 190 yards, 2 touchdown passes, an 84% completion percentage. And beyond those numbers, he looked calm, controlled, and comfortable after working through the early problems. That's what you wanted to see. There was always going to be pressure on Simpson because first-round quarterbacks are viewed differently. Fans don't watch them the same way they watch a late-round developmental player. Every throw gets examined. Every decision becomes part of the conversation. People want immediate evidence that the organization made the right choice. Simpson gave Rams fans a very strong first impression. That doesn't mean he's a finished product. It doesn't mean every preseason game will look like this. It certainly doesn't mean we should make huge conclusions about his future after 25 attempts. What it does mean is that the first real test went about as well as Rams fans could have hoped. He faced an early problem and recovered. He operated under center. He completed passes at an extremely high rate. He found Klare repeatedly. He worked through his reads on the screen that became Connor's touchdown. And when the game was finished, he had 2 touchdown passes without needing to force the issue. That's a very good day for a rookie quarterback. And maybe the most exciting thing is that Simpson wasn't the only young Ram giving fans a reason to keep watching. Klare looked dependable. Connors turned limited opportunities into 2 touchdowns. Anderson made plays all over the field. Bailey brought pressure. Hamilton battled in coverage. The offensive line depth held up despite Trost leaving early. The running back room produced. The defense competed. No, it wasn't perfect. It wasn't supposed to be. This is preseason, and these games exist partly because young players need to make mistakes, adjust, and show coaches how they respond. What matters is whether you leave the game feeling like you've learned something meaningful about the roster. Rams fans, now I want to hear from you. What impressed you most about Ty Simpson's performance? Was he your biggest winner from this game? Or did Dean Connors, Max Klare, Nick Anderson, or somebody else catch your attention even more? And after seeing Simpson complete 21 of 25 passes for 190 yards and 2 touchdowns, how excited are you to see what number 15 does next? Let me know what you think, because after this first preseason look, there is a lot for Rams fans to talk about.